the building need to be re-waterproof, So what is the correct waterproofing method? There are a lot of arguments here and there. So just to introduce about myself, I actually is a proposer as well as a committee for Jakarta Standard Malaysia to draft Malaysia waterproofing standard. Besides, I also teach in University Malaya in building technology, teach about interflow leakage to the tribunal, as well as EM 1504 product and system for protection and repair of concrete structure in Institute Engineering Malaysia. So, sorry. Uh, Sorry, I think I pressed wrongly. How to share? Okay. Um,
It's a green button in the middle, sir.
yes. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about waterproofing. When we talk about waterproofing, there are many systems. Historically, the first system is whereby the worker carry the tar to the rooftop and with the tar, with a torch, and then spread it onto the flat roof and lower them evenly. That is known as build-up roof. After some years, contractor discovered that it is actually not durable because the bitumen and asphalt is ultraviolet and heat stable. So it has been replaced by another system known as protective membrane roof, whereby a layer of screed is actually put on top of the waterproof in order to protect the waterproof against ultraviolet and heat. But somehow, this system worked very well. However, another group of manufacturers that come up with another system known as torch membrane, or in America, it's known as modified bitumen membrane. It comes with different formulation, but again, manufacturer also discovered that it doesn't work very well. Another group of manufacturers come up with liquid applied coating using polyurethane, acrylic, epoxy, and even polymethane metal chloride. Okay, this one is by way of pouring and rolling the coating on top of the flat roof. But somehow it doesn't work very well as well. As such, another new formulation known as single ply membrane came out as a new version of waterproof. And this single ply membrane actually have 4 types, namely EPDM, PVC, TPO, and KEE. So it all have different characteristics and lifespan. Some of them, for instance, EPDM is even flammable. So we need to choose correctly. The newest is spray polyurea, which still is pretty new in Malaysia. I have no direct experience when it comes to the lifespan because it's still very new. Okay, I don't have any comment on this. And silicone coating has not been widely used. And all this type of coating, it comes with different lifespan. So far that I can check and observe, I noticed protected membrane roof can last 10 to 20 years if it's done properly. Torch membrane 3 to 5 years. Some of them even shorter. Liquid applied membrane 1 to 3 years. Single ply membrane can come with 25 years warranty, especially the KEE, cathode ethylene ester. Okay, so now, but whatever it is, our waterproof actually sit on concrete structure, and concrete structure must be duly designed so that it doesn't crack. One of the issues that in Malaysia that we discovered is we have a lot of missing expansion joint especially for the recent concrete structure nowadays. I don't know why. Somehow, without this expansion joint, it represents an engineering fault that can cause the water flowing to fail prematurely. So, the importance of expansion joint can be illustrated by this diagram. Okay, imagine if your pool or your flat roof doesn't have expansion joint. Upon expansion and contraction due to the temperature, the expansion have nowhere to go but to expand and crack the external wall. When it is cool, it will shrink and pull the external wall. All this can cause the waterproof to fail, especially if it lacks the elasticity that can cater for the expansion and contraction. And as a result, this is what you can see, in reality, whereby without expansion joint, building have a lot of cracks, and the crack actually can crack the waterproofing as well. So the correct design is actually we need to have expansion joint even on our high rise, and for structure that have different height or different mass or different orientation, need to have an expansion joint like the way I'm shown here as well. And then from top view, now change in orientation or geometry also need to have a separation to become two structure instead of one monolithic structure. And live load, especially at the ramp, need to have expansion joint too. Without it, the ramp will have a tendency to crack. So I would like to illustrate with some of the study that I've done on my own. Okay, this is actually a wall below the flat roof. And this wall have a crack. I punched two holes at this wall, and I measure the temperature of the wall as well as the distance between these two holes. And I discovered according to temperature change, the width of the crack actually changed accordingly. So this is a significant evidence to show that the crack is actually induced by temperature change, and the change in the width can be up to 16 mm. So how can you imagine with the crack of 16 mm, no waterproof can survive? So as a result, this has a clear indication to say that, to tell us how important is the expansion joint when it comes to the performance of the waterproof. And for your information, I also done some experiment at my own. Here in my own house, I actually put different type of waterproofing under the hot sun to expose it to the hot sun from morning to the afternoon. And I discovered torch membrane absorbs so much heat that even though I lifted up the torch membrane from the concrete slab, the base of the below the torch membrane is even hotter than blank concrete. So imagine if you install the wrong waterproof on your flat roof, it actually can cause more expansion and contraction.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but could you please put it back in full screen?
Again?
The slides are not in full screen. Remember the button just now? Button next to.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, yes. Sorry about it. Okay, now the performance of waterproof also depend on the pollution in the environment, especially if there is high level of acid dissipation, then the acidity can cause the waterproof to degrade rapidly as well. So for all this, I have also discovered seismic activity. Okay, and Malaysia is no longer an earthquake-free country. Seismic activity also can crack the concrete, and as a result, the waterproof can crack accordingly too. So another thing that can cause our waterproof to fail is the wind. If we use the membrane type of waterproof, the wind can actually uplift the waterproof. So and why we have stronger wind nowadays? Firstly, is due to the climate change. Secondly, the heat urban effect, simply because there's a lot of hot air emitted in the urban area, okay, by our aircon system, by our vehicle. And thirdly, the congestion of building actually cause the wind to have to travel longer distance. Hence, they have to travel faster. All this can cause our typical type of waterproofing membrane to fail as a result of wind. And there is this an issue that has been overlooked by the industry is the impact of corrosion. Typically at the swimming pool, whereby we have chloride containing water that penetrate, that enter into the concrete and then start to corrode our concrete. And corrosion to the reinforcement steel bar cause the volume to expand due to the byproduct of the corrosion, and it will crack our concrete as well. So please bear in mind that if our concrete suffer from corrosion, even though we waterproof on top of the existing building, the cracking mechanism still continue as if like the battery that is put in our torch light. Even though we don't turn it on, the torch light, the battery will self-consume by itself. Likewise to the corrosion matrix in our reinforcement steel bar. So before we waterproof our existing building, we do need to stop the corrosion activity by way of using sacrificial anode, corrosion inhibitor, and cathodic protection. And whenever we replace waterproof, we need to bear in mind that waterproof are construction chemicals, and chemicals of different substances actually doesn't compatible to each other. So we need to make sure that whatever new product or different product that we apply on the existing waterproofing coating or membrane need to be compatible, so that it doesn't repel and cause premature failure. And of course, good waterproof need to be highly elastic, chemical resistant, and installed according to the detailings. Okay, for instance, this is the diagram of waterproof for indoor wet area. So please bear in mind, waterproof need to be extended to the wall, to the wall up to 6 feet at the shower area. And then you need to angle it. It needs to be applied inside the pipe and extended out to the door by 1 feet. So all this detailing need to be adhered to before we can make our waterproof durable. So there is always a misunderstanding that waterproof can be durable, even though, how to say, we need to, it need to have, waterproof must always sit on a gradient so that there won't be accumulation of, there won't be any accumulation of the acidity in the bleach under the surface. Okay, so imagine this is a slab that has wrong gradient. Without cement screed to fall, the water that eventually seep through the cement screed will stay at the water puddle below the surface, and the acidity will start to accumulate. And if the acidity becomes so high, no waterproof can survive. So as a result, it's very important to cement screed to fall so that our waterproof sit on the cement screed at a gradient. No water puddle or accumulation of acid can happen in this if we can do a layer of cement screed to fall before we apply the waterproof. So, okay, I would like to show you how the build-up roof look like. Build-up roof is what, the first generation of waterproof, whereby people carry their mortar, asphalt or bitumen to the rooftop, boil it on the rooftop, and then spread it evenly. Actually, in this case, because bitumen is a bit flammable, it causes a lot of fires, So Secondly, the pouch membrane is also not ultraviolet and heat stable. So eventually, people install one layer of cement strip, okay, or gravels or vegetation to protect the membrane so that the membrane is not exposed to the ultraviolet and heat directly. Okay, this is the second generation known as protected membrane roof. The third generation is called torch membrane or modified bitumen membrane. And this generation is not suitable for Malaysia because even though it is protected by gravel, the small stone chips, but the small stone chip also can conduct the heat very well. It may work very well in cold country, but not in Malaysia. So there are scientific papers on this. Waterproofing coating by way of using acrylic or even polyurethane. These are the acrylic waterproofing coating that is invented by another group of manufacturers. Then single ply membrane is the white color membrane, also known as cold roofing, because the white color actually reflect the heat, back to the atmosphere, and it actually cool down the flat roof. Hence, it causes less expansion and contraction as a result of temperature increase. Polyurea is too new to in Malaysia. I still don't have much data about the durability of polyurea coating. Okay, how do we check waterproof failure? ASTM C1153 is a standard practice for locating the wet insulation in roofing system using infrared imaging. So imagine if we have one piece of concrete slab, some area have water pocket due to waterproofing failure, some area doesn't have water pocket because there's no waterproofing failure. So the flat roof will absorb heat, be it with water pocket and without water pocket equally. But in the evening, we can use infrared to identify the water pocket because the water can retain the heat longer. So in the evening, we actually look for hot spot and we confirm the water pocket using moisture meter that can penetrate up to 20 mm. So this is some of the waterproofing coating membrane that I check using infrared imaging. And of course, whatever the repair or diagnosis, KPKT recommend EN 1504. So in this system, it emphasizes not only the restoration of structural performance, we also need to control the corrosion before we do the moisture control. So these are the 3 steps according to EN 1504 for concrete repair and protection. And this is the scientific paper done by an engineer in JKR based on some of the building in Putrajaya. And according to this engineer, Salawati, she actually discovered torch membrane is not suitable for Malaysia. I actually discovered similar type of paper from Nigeria as well, whereby torch membrane is also not suitable for the tropical environment in Nigeria, just like Malaysia. It has a tendency to stretch as a result of expansion contraction, pull on return, and it cracked at the joint. Meanwhile, because it is not ultraviolet and heat stable, it can also be punctured easily after oxidation. Okay, so it will lose its elasticity over time. And meantime, I also discovered polyurethane is not a suitable way to rectify leaking, simply because it is a cosmetic nature of rectification. The PU form will expand, let's say 300%, and after some months, it will shrink also to the original size. So it is something that is cosmetic, and I do not encourage the people adopt it in the industry. Okay. And polymer coating like acrylic, polyurethane, and polyurea. How durable it is, I do not have information about polyurea, but so far that my inspection is concerned, I discover polymer coating is also not suitable. especially if there is presence of ponding water. It typically will wrinkle and it will start to break down at a location with ponding water. And secondly, likewise to other coating, we can also check the failure of coating using infrared imaging. And for your information, for coating or any other system, the problem is always the core joint where the expansion contraction will tend to work in those joints at the edges as well as at the penetration to the pipe. So this area needs extra attention, whereby we do need to install bond breaker to prevent the waterproof to break at this location. Okay, so but unfortunately, I have hardly seen this in the industry. So far, I discovered Python ethylene ester is still the best waterproofing membrane for Malaysia, which can carry up to 10 years to 25 years warranty. It is soft in nature, permanently elastic, and due to the white color, it actually reduces the heat, and as a result, it also reduces the impact of expansion and contraction as a result of heat. Furthermore, it is not bonded to the concrete surface, so any cracking or any movement to the concrete doesn't affect the waterproof. So this is how good it is, And in fact, it is the result of the previous failure of the let's say polymer coating, Hodge membrane, and even build-up roof. So this is the best so far that I can notice for Malaysia environment due to the ability to cool down the roof. Besides, I also urge the industry, okay, since we need to re-waterproof every 10 years, some of the area like podium that have marble or very expensive finishing, if we need to break and replace it every 10 years, that will be very expensive, So I always urge the industry to adopt maintainable design like this that can counter, that can actually facilitate the inspection and repair in future easily. So this is a method that if you have enough drop space tolerance for drop, please try to adopt this method simply because this is a new trend that can solve a number of problems. Okay, once the slab is lifted up, you can do the inspection, you can do the cleaning, you can do all your replacement easily without replacing the finishing in future. So after all, whatever the rectification or re-waterproofing work need to be done, we need to be able to diagnose what is the reason it failed, address the reason it failed first before we do our re-waterproofing exercise. So I think for maintenance wise, it's important try to use back the existing system, because in BS 6229 actually have provision that say that we need to use back to the existing system so that it is deemed suitable for the building. Secondly, if hacking is very troublesome and noisy and not acceptable, single ply membrane is actually a way forward because it is how to say, doesn't involve hacking. It is fast and it can quickly rectify the leaking. It's simply because it's not bonded to the surface. It can avoid a number of cracking issue that can eventually crack the waterproof. So I think that's all to my short presentation. Is there any question?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kwan, for that comprehensive presentation. We have now reached the Q&A segment. where we'll be addressing your questions on waterproofing challenges and solutions. So let's take a look at what we have in the Zoom chat. So far, Mr. Kwan, we have no questions for you. So if you have any questions for Mr. Kwan, please go ahead and type them in the chat box, and he'll gladly answer them.
Yeah, you can actually contact me or refer to my blog, for more information. Because this is a very small topic, I think the presentation is also pretty short, right? So
Since it's quite early, so perhaps we can give them a couple of minutes if they have any questions for you.
just bear in mind, just for the audiences, polymer coating not suitable, pouch membrane also not suitable. But single ply membrane is a bit expensive, but it can last for long years, long duration. So if you divide it by life cycle costing, it's actually not so expensive, you see. But the initial acquisition cost is expensive. So this is the Caton Italian ester that carry 25 years warranty. Any question?
All right, sir. I think we have one question from Muhammad Najib bin Ham. For the corrosion part, let's say I'm using steel floor trap in the toilet. So will that one also affect the waterproofing?
Actually, corrosion on the floor trap. Floor trap actually underneath still have one layer of cement scrape. Then only we reach the waterproof, and then after that is a concrete slab. So whatever happened at the floor trap, it doesn't affect the waterproof because it is separated by one layer of cement scrape. So I don't think so. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Do we have any more questions from Mr. Coyle? Feel free to type them in the chat box below, yeah?
You're welcome, Najib. Actually, I would also like to remind you, you please carry out periodic inspection for flat roof, meaning to say that every 1 year or every 6 months, you need to inspect systematically from the floor below the flat roof, check if there is any leaking. And then after that, you need to check all the termination, the upturn, the flashing, and then check the main waterproofing body so that we can reduce the damage before it become worse. So periodic or regular inspection is actually needed. Okay. Any other question?
All right, sir. I think there's no more questions for you today. And with that, we've come to the end of today's session. On behalf of Excel Academy, we would like to extend our sincere thanks to you, of course, for sharing your valuable expertise on today's topic. And of course, to all of you who joined us, thank you for participating. Do stay connected and explore more learning opportunities with Excel Academy throughout this National Training Week 2025. Until then, take care and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you so
Thank you. Bye-bye.